Welcome to Pique Your Interest, your go-to podcast for all things mortgage and real estate. Hosted by Tanner Greenwald and Tim Malaskis. We bring you expert insights to help you buy, sell, and invest with confidence. Let's dive in.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Pique Your Interest podcast. I have a special guest on with us today who happens to be my sister as well. This is Kyler Greenwald. The topic of conversation for our podcast today is going to be how coaching buyers is similar to a coach having to coach players. So Kyler, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, who you coach with, a little bit about you.
Okay. So I'm Kyler Greenwald, like Tanner said, her sister. So what I do for coaching is I have two jobs. One of my jobs is being an assistant coach at Stevenson University, which is a Division III school in Owings Mills, Maryland. And then my other job is I'm a club coach for Freedom Hockey. And what I do there is I'm called like a lead coach. So that means that, I manage the U19 division and, submit rosters and help create teams and create the practice plans and kind of just help like run that age group. Kind of jumping back to my role at Stevenson as the assistant coach. In Division III, you wear many different hats. So not only are you doing the hockey piece, but you're also doing like the social media piece and, a bunch of the other roles that a lot of like Division II and Division I coaches like don't really have to do. But yeah, so I really enjoy both of my roles and am excited to talk about them today.
Yeah, nice. And Kyler's also played sports pretty much your whole life, no?
Yeah.
We all have. But Kyler's been the sports guru, I think, in our family. So Kyler knows a lot about, what coaching entails, teamwork, all that good stuff. So I thought it would be nice to have her come in and we can kind of compare how the industry with mortgages is similar to the industry if you're coaching specifically, young players and whatnot. So let's start off with talking about goal setting and strategies. So when I am pre-qualifying a borrower or even just speaking to a borrower up front, I have to have a goal in mind with that specific borrower. So when we have a conversation, it's either we need to work on credit repair, they're good to go with credit, and they have this idea in their mind of what they want their monthly payment to be or what. So we're setting goals as we go on. That requires strategies as well. So we have to have systems in place to help out, help them get to the certain goal that they want to get to. So how can you relate that as a coach to, what I'm saying?
I would just say everybody should have goals no matter what you're doing, whether, like you said, it's, sports or something in life. Like, I feel like goals are really good because you're always working towards them. And, you can like see what you want at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. So in sports, especially like field hockey, which is like a team sport, setting a goal is also a way to get everybody on the same page and get them to like work together again, all to like, eventually, hopefully reach your goal. Mm-hmm. So thinking about like a game and thinking about like your season, your goals will likely look the same throughout the season because you have goals for that current game, but you also have goals for your season, if that makes sense. Yeah. So like going back to Stevenson, one of our goals for the season was to make, the MAC tournament, our conference tournament, and it is really hard to make. So we had to be one of the top 4 teams to make it, and we knew what we needed to do. So once we got into our conference play, we actually had this poster board where we listed out each game. And we didn't include our opponent on the poster or anything. It literally just said game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4, game 5. We knew that if we were to win 5 games, we would absolutely make the tournament. But we knew that we needed to win at least 4. So we would bring this poster to our games and we would have all of the other games below covered up. So you would only see your current goal of what you wanted to reach. So on this like poster board, it would say game 1 and there was like a box where you could put a check mark in and all the other games were hidden below with a piece of paper. So once we won that first game, whether it was like that day or 2 days later, we would check that box. But yeah, so I think that they're just very helpful because it just allows people to see something at the end of the tunnel and work together and like build trust and Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you talk about working together, and that kind of hits on my next point of teamwork. So when I think of teamwork in the mortgage industry, you have the person that's bringing in the loan, which happens to be the loan officer, but you also have a team behind you. You've got your processor, your underwriter, your closer, your real estate agent. You've got all this whole team that you have to work with well together in order to make it to your end goal of purchasing the home. So in sports, teamwork obviously is super important. What are some things, I guess, some specific teamwork skills that you love to use when you're coaching?
I would say, like, I don't know. I don't know if it would be like skills exactly, but
Or strategies or
yeah, I would say like whenever we realize that there's disconnect and that we need more connection, then we will do drills where there's a lot of communication. And if you don't communicate, you're not successful.
yeah.
So we'll do a lot of drills like that. But I would say, as coaches, when it comes to sports and especially college sports, where you're with them in season every single day, you learn like who works best together and you try to put those people together on the field.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And then you'd have like lines of people coming in. So, whoever would start the game, all of those people would probably work really well together.
Yeah.
And then the people who would come in next for the subs and like, the next rotation, those people probably work really well together. But I would say like even, your plans change.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes like those people might not work well together and you have to like make changes on the fly. So yeah, I would say like whenever there's a disconnect, we would just do certain drills to like get the connection again. But with field hockey being a team sport, like it's never going to be perfect because there are so many moving parts.
Yeah.
But teamwork is something that everyone knows that it has to happen because you're playing a team sport.
Yeah.
So
People don't know that though. I'm seeing even in the work industry, you've got to have teamwork in order to succeed. Basically.
Yeah. And I'll say like sometimes it is really hard because everybody's so different.
Yeah.
And I feel like like my field hockey examples, they're very similar, but they're also kind of different because, with your examples of everybody who's in your process, sometimes there might be two people in that one process, or it might just be one. And it's like, if they don't get their job done, the process doesn't move on.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Right?
Yeah.
So how like I relate that to like my sport and my experiences is like, there are 11 players on the field, including the goalie. If one person doesn't do their job on the press, everything gets messed up.
Yeah.
And it does not go to plan. And when it doesn't go to plan, like you have to fall back on, hopefully your experiences and like years of like knowing what to do. But when everybody's on the same page and everything gets done, it gets done quicker with less problems.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's how we really relate.
Yeah. And kind of jumping into the next topic, I think being able to adapt to certain circumstances and having a good mindset to adapt. And the way that I think about it is, if you're on a team, like a sports team, you have to have the mindset of an opponent and a referee at the same time, which kind of sounds off or weird, but it's like you really do have to shift your mindset and adapt to certain situations, which you do in the mortgage industry as well. Each loan that comes in is completely different. No borrower is the same. We have completely different income situations, asset situations, whatever, everybody's different. So we have to adapt to the clients. And again, they are all different. So you have to have the mindset of knowing, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So how would you relate that to being on a team? Like, how is mindset super important, and having a good mindset and being able to adapt? How is that important to be on a team and be successful on a team?
Yeah, pretty much exactly what you said. Like the two biggest things are the other opponent and the officials, which is funny because in both of like, my club world and my college world, it's the officials and sometimes, yes, the opponents, but mainly the officials who really throw people off.
Yeah.
you can only control so much.
Yeah.
So if the official makes a bad call and you react and you stop playing, you're basically taking yourself completely out of the play. And a lot of times what happens is like, let's say I'm the one complaining, like the wrong, foul was called. It was called on me when they actually committed the foul, but I'm the one who's like complaining to the ref and like fighting back. Well, that girl already took the ball down the field,
Right.
and
yeah,
like
she's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I'm not, like, I basically just like took my team down a player.
Yeah.
So that's something that we've really been talking about lately. And yeah, so we could do a better job of just like maybe like being more flexible and like more like resilient with it, of not letting the little things affect us and just like always being ourselves no matter what happens, because I mean that's going to make you a great person, but that's also going to make you a really great player because nothing will affect you ever.
I agree.
Where I see it with the opponents from the other team is like when they're really physical, or when they're like talking a lot to our players, and like obviously they're not saying like amazing things, like that's what will affect like our teams. But we've had to get a little bit better with, again, just like staying in our lane, like not letting those things affect us, and just like being able to play through it, because some teams, like that's like their tactic.
Yeah.
That's how they get to you.
Yeah. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's true though. It's so true. But like as the coach, you see it happening and you see your team react, and you're like, okay, well, how can I like reel everything back in and like allow them to have a reset?
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you need a reset even in the mortgage industry too, but that's okay. So motivation, I think, and communication are another really big, they kind of intertwine with each other. And when I'm thinking of the mortgage industry, you definitely have to be motivated every single day, especially in this market right now. It's hard, it's tough, it's draining, it's exhausting. So you have to always wake up and just kind of think of, what am I going to do today where I can set my goals and be motivated and put my systems into place and make myself feel good? And how can I communicate that with myself, with others? So how would you relate that to obviously being on a team? It's super important to have communication and motivation on a team.
Yeah, I would just say like it really relates like in like a confidence aspect of when people are confident, they usually do good things.
Yeah.
So like from the coaching perspective, like the communication is huge. For example, if I have a player who usually plays a lot of minutes and all of a sudden maybe they're not playing as many minutes, like you have to communicate with them, because otherwise they go down the rabbit hole of every single thing they did wrong, and then their confidence is destroyed. It's a two-way street of like they really should come and ask you. But at the same time, like as the coach, what I believe in is I could just communicate with them right off the bat and let them know what they need to work on or what happened, so that they can like see time again. Also, like, when you're a coach, you want to develop your players as players, but like mainly as people. Like it's always the person first. Like they matter most as a person before they matter as a player. So with that being said, like, at club, at Freedom, and also at Stevenson, like we always just try to like build them up as people and as players. How do you build somebody up? Like you let them know what they do really well, and you recognize when they do things really well, but you also give them, like I don't like the word criticism, but like you give them the feedback that they need. Like
tools.
Yeah, you give them the tools, you let them know what they need to work on, but not in a way that's going to like tear them down.
Right.
I think that's, where a lot of coaches get lost, is they feel the pressure and like the need to win, when like really you're going to get your most success when you motivate your players and you build their confidence.
Yeah. Because these are real people you're dealing with. These aren't like robots. They're not machines. They're real people with real feelings. So if they're not starting off well in the mind, they're not going to play well. They're not going to buy a home well, Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And then our last thing that I wanted to talk about is resilience. You brought that up earlier, and how having it is good. And I think having resilience in the mortgage industry is good as well. Can you touch on resilience a little bit more, and how important it really is, especially in sports? Because I think it can relate to outside activities as well.
Yeah, I would just say like every single person in sports, in the mortgage industry, in life, they have to be resilient. The more resilient you are, the better life you'll live, I think, because you get through the hardships. And, you're tough and you just push through.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, in sports, we talk about having, like, a tougher skin. We spoke earlier about, like, opponents and officials and how they can, like, really affect us. Not letting them affect you means that, you're more resilient. You can fight through. You can still play really well under those conditions.
Right.
So I think resilience is extremely, extremely important, even as a coach, too, of, like, if I make a plan and the plan doesn't work, if I just pout about it, we're not going to win.
Right.
Right? Like,
Right.
if I just decide to pout, anyone who just decides to pout, first of all, that's the easiest thing to do. But second of all, like, you never are going to get where you need to get. So just, like, being resilient and, like, it all ties in with, like, the flexibility and adaptability. Yeah, I would also say, like, where we see resilience is people who just aren't letting the fear overcome them. So in field hockey, like, you have to score goals to win.
Right.
So where we speak a lot about, resilience is inside the circle where, you can just get a little touch in front of the goalie. A lot of times the little touch in front of the goalie is this really hard ball that's being hit in from one of your players who's probably trying to take a shot instead of pass you the ball.
Right.
But if you get the touch, it's so much harder for the goalie to stop, and those are a lot of the goals that you're going to score.
Right.
Like those little, like, change of directions and just, like, little touches in front of the goalkeeper, but a lot of people are just way too scared to get in front.
Yeah.
So, like I said, with my college girls, you're already in college, you have to do it. Like, you decide to play in college, you have to go and get the touch. But for my club girls, really just, like, teaching them, like, look, you're about to go to college, and they expect you to just do it.
Yeah.
If you don't push yourself to just go for it, it's going to be so much harder in a few years when you're actually there. So, yeah, just, like, being resilient and putting yourself out there and just going for it. And even in life, like, there are going to be things that are really scary, and it's going to make you not want to do them, but, like, just do it, because even if you fail, you're at least making yourself uncomfortable and, like, learning more about yourself and taking a step forward.
Yeah. It's brought up a couple examples in my mind of me needing to, this is helpful for me, Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think those are good points. I think those are good examples too. And you can use a lot of what Kyler had said in your everyday life, in your work, at home, if you're a coach yourself, But thank you for coming in, Kai, and talking to us about, how coaching is and how important different aspects of coaching are. I thought it was pretty motivating for even myself. So thanks, girl.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Be
Have
sure
a good
to.
time.
How do we watch Stevenson University play? Are we able to do that if people are interested?
Yes, you are able. So, well, first of all, we are located in Owings Mills, Maryland, and we have a beautiful AstroTurf if you ever want to come and see our games in person. We are located, like I said, in Owings Mills, but it is, like, just so beautiful there. So you can come watch us in person, or you can see us online. You can just go to, honestly, just Google, Stevenson Field Hockey and go to our schedule. And once you go to our schedule, you would find, a game of, your interest, something that you can make or watch online. And then whenever that date comes around, just click, the watch live link.
You can watch you can see Kyler in action and putting into place all these topics. So.